When 17-year-old high school senior Emma Sullivan stood before Judge Frank Caprio with 7 parking tickets issued in just 1 week, the prosecutor was convinced her parents were using her disability to scam the system. But when Frank asked how a blind teenager who couldn't even have a driver's license could rack up violations across 3 different cities, what Emma revealed about her service dog Bella's mysterious nighttime behavior, the underground parking enforcement quota system targeting student drivers, and the one officer who refused to stop following her family's car, would expose the predatory side of traffic enforcement and prove that sometimes the law protects revenue over protecting children. Before we get into this shocking story, make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications for All Rise. Drop a comment telling us where you're watching from and if you've ever felt targeted by unfair tickets in your town. We love hearing from our incredible community. Providence Municipal Court had never seen anything quite like this. When Emma Sullivan's name echoed through the courtroom, heads turned as a petite teenage girl in her school uniform, a white blouse and navy skirt, walked in nervously, guided by a beautiful German shepherd wearing a bright purple service vest with the name Bella embroidered in silver letters. Judge Frank Caprio looked up from his papers and immediately noticed the white cane folded and clipped to Emma's backpack, and the way her service dog navigated her carefully through the crowded courtroom. "Miss Sullivan, please approach the bench," Frank said gently, his voice warm and grandfatherly. "And your service dog is absolutely welcome here." Emma moved forward with Bella, leading her expertly around the chairs and people, her path precise, despite her obvious nervousness. Her eyes had the cloudy, unfocused appearance of someone with severe visual impairment, and her hand trembled slightly as she held Bella's harness. "Miss Sullivan," Frank began, spreading out a shocking stack of documents before him. "I'm looking at 7 parking citations issued to you over a span of just 1 week, October 16th through October 22nd. All 7 were issued in different locations across Providence, Cranston, and Warwick." Emma's voice was barely above a whisper. "Yes, Your Honor, I know about all 7 tickets." Frank set down his reading glasses and looked at Emma with genuine confusion and concern. "Miss Sullivan, how old are you?" "I'm 17, Your Honor. I'll be 18 in 2 months. And I need to ask you something directly. Are you visually impaired?" Emma nodded, her voice stronger now. "Yes, Your Honor. I'm legally blind. I lost most of my vision when I was 12 due to a degenerative eye disease called retinitis pigmentosa. I can see some shapes and light, but not enough to read, recognize faces, or navigate safely without Bella." Frank picked up the tickets again, his confusion deepening. "Then help me understand something, Emma. These are all parking violations. Some for expired meters, some for parking in no parking zones, and 2 for blocking fire hydrants. You're 17 years old and legally blind. You can't possibly have a driver's license. How are you getting parking tickets?" Emma's answer would reveal a calculated targeting of a family. "Your Honor, I don't drive. I can't drive. I'm not even old enough to have a full driver's license yet, and even if I was, my blindness prevents it," Emma explained, her voice shaking slightly. "Those 7 tickets were all issued to the same vehicle. A 2020 Toyota Camry registered to my mom, Jennifer Sullivan. She's been driving me to school, to my part-time job at the library, and to my doctor appointments." The courtroom stirred with murmurs. Frank leaned forward, his expression shifting from confusion to concern. "So these tickets were issued to your mother's vehicle while she was driving you?" "Yes, sir, but here's what's really disturbing. All 7 tickets were written by the same officer, Officer Derek Pollson. And he knows I'm blind. He's seen me with Bella multiple times. Yet somehow every single ticket has my name on it as the registered owner and the person allegedly responsible, even though the car is registered to my mom. Frank's eyebrows rose sharply. The same officer issued all 7 tickets in 1 week to a vehicle driven by your mother, but put your name on them? Yes, Your Honor. And it gets worse. My mom tried to contest them at the parking enforcement office, but they told her that since my name appeared on the citations, I had to be the one to come to court. That's why I'm here alone. My mom is at work. She couldn't take another day off or she'd lose her job. The pattern of harassment was about to be exposed. Frank asked Emma to walk him through each ticket in detail. She pulled out her smartphone, which immediately began speaking aloud as she navigated it with practiced swipes, a text-to-speech system reading everything on her screen. The first ticket was Monday, October 16th, Emma began, pulling up her detailed notes that her phone read aloud to her. My mom picked me up from Providence Career and Technical Academy at 2:45 p.m. She parked on the street outside the main entrance in a legal spot. No signs, no restrictions, no meter, while I came out with Bella. What happened? When we got to the car, there was already a ticket on the windshield. It said, "Expired meter," but, Your Honor, there is no meter on that block. The school is in a residential area. The ticket even has the wrong street number. It says we were parked at 41 Pontiac Avenue when the school is actually at 800 Pontiac Avenue. Frank made a note, his jaw tightening. And Officer Pollson wrote this ticket? Yes, sir. I used my phone's camera with an app called Seeing AI. It reads text aloud for me using optical character recognition. His badge number was on the ticket. Badge number 847. Did you encounter the officer? Emma's voice grew tight with controlled frustration. We did. He was sitting in his patrol car about half a block away, watching us. My mom walked over to him and asked about the ticket. She showed him that there was no meter, pointed to the actual school address, and explained she was just picking up her blind daughter from school. What did he say? He said, and I remember this exactly because my mom recorded it on her phone. Ma'am, the ticket speaks for itself. If you think it's wrong, you can waste your time fighting it in court. Frank's expression darkened. He saw you were blind. He saw Bella. Your Honor, I was standing right there in my school uniform, holding my white cane, with Bella in her full-service vest. There's absolutely no way he didn't know I'm a blind teenager, but he didn't care. The second ticket revealed an escalating pattern. The second ticket was that same Monday, October 16th at 5:30 p.m., Emma continued, her phone reading her notes aloud. My mom drove me to the Providence Public Library where I work part-time 3 days a week shelving audiobooks and helping with the accessible technology section. Another ticket? Yes, Your Honor. This time for unauthorized use of loading zone. My mom pulled into the library's designated drop-off zone, the same zone we've used for 2 years without any problems, for literally 2 minutes while I got out with Bella and my backpack. Frank leaned forward. Officer Pollson again? Yes, sir. He was parked across the street. My mom said he was writing the ticket before she'd even finished helping me get my backpack organized. When she tried to explain it was a drop-off zone and she wasn't parking, just unloading her disabled daughter, Officer Pollson said, I don't care. Rules are rules. The third, fourth, and fifth tickets showed systematic targeting. Emma's voice grew more strained as she detailed the subsequent violations, her phone reading each incident aloud. Tuesday morning, October 17th, third ticket. My mom picked me up at 7:45 a.m. to drive me to school. We stopped at Dunkin' Donuts on Westminster Street so I could grab breakfast before first period. My mom parked in a legal parking spot, We even took a photo of the sign showing it was unrestricted parking from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. Let me guess. Officer Pollson? Yes, Your Honor. He ticketed us for blocking traffic flow, even though we were parked parallel to the curb in a marked space, and there were empty spaces in front of and behind us. We were inside for maybe 8 minutes. Frank was taking rapid notes. Fourth ticket? Same day, Tuesday afternoon at 3:00 p.m. My mom picked me up from school early because I had a doctor's appointment at Rhode Island Eye Institute. She was parked in the school's designated parent pickup lane, the same place dozens of other parents park every single day. And Officer Pollson drove by, circled back, and wrote a ticket for exceeding posted time limit in school zone. Your Honor, there is no time limit in the pickup lane during school hours. It's literally designed for parents to wait for their kids. We'd been there for 4 minutes. Frank shook his head in disbelief. This is the same officer? Same week? Following your family? It gets worse, Your Honor. 5th ticket, Wednesday, October 18th. My mom drove me to my appointment at Rhode Island Eye Institute for my regular checkup about my retinitis pigmentosa. She parked in the hospital's patient loading zone with her hazard lights on while helping me out with Bella. The hospital has a policy allowing up to 10 minutes for patient drop-off. Officer Pollson was there. He must have followed us, Your Honor. The hospital is in a completely different part of the city from where we normally go. My mom was literally helping me adjust Bella's vest when Officer Pollson appeared and started writing a ticket for illegal parking in medical facility loading zone, even though we had every right to be there. The 6th and 7th tickets crossed into harassment territory. Emma's hands trembled as she described the final 2 tickets, and Bella gently nudged her leg with her nose, a trained response to comfort her handler during stress. Thursday, October 19th, 6th ticket. My mom and I decided to try leaving extra early and taking back roads to avoid Officer Pollson. We left home at 7:15 a.m. instead of our usual 7:45 and drove through Cranston instead of our normal route through Providence. Let me guess, he found us, Your Honor. We stopped at a CVS pharmacy in Cranston so I could pick up my prescription for my eye condition. My mom parked in a designated pharmacy pickup spot with signs clearly marking it for customers picking up prescriptions. Frank's voice was tight with anger. And Officer Pollson? He was there, Your Honor, in Cranston. That's outside his Providence jurisdiction. He wrote a ticket for parking in fire lane, even though it was a marked pharmacy pickup space, and I was only inside for 6 minutes picking up medication I need for my eyes. This is crossing city lines to target you. The 7th ticket was the most frightening, Emma said, her voice breaking slightly. Bella immediately pressed closer to her, performing her trained anxiety alert response. That same Thursday evening, my mom drove me to Target in Warwick for school supplies. We parked in a regular parking space near the store entrance, completely legal with plenty of time left on the meter. We were shopping together because I needed my mom's help picking out colors for a school project since I can't see them clearly. When you came out, there was a ticket on the windshield for obstructing handicapped access because we'd supposedly parked too close to a handicapped space. But, Your Honor, we were 4 spaces away from the handicapped section. We took photos showing our parking was completely legal. Emma's voice dropped to almost a whisper. And we saw him. Officer Pollson was parked at the other end of the lot in his patrol car, in Warwick, 2 cities away from his Providence jurisdiction, just watching us load school supplies into the trunk. Your Honor, I'm 17 years old and blind, and a police officer was following me and my mom across multiple cities. I was terrified. Frank immediately launched an investigation into Officer Pollson. Frank's face was flushed with anger as he called for a recess and requested that Officer Derek Pollson report to the courthouse immediately. He also called the Providence Police Department's Internal Affairs Division and requested a complete review of Pollson's citation history. Captain Jennifer Walsh from Internal Affairs arrived within 90 minutes, bringing a thick file and a tablet with data. "Your Honor," Captain Walsh began, her expression grim as she glanced sympathetically at Emma. "Officer Pollson's ticketing patterns are deeply problematic. In the past 6 months, he's written 1,147 parking citations, more than triple the department average of 600. Frank looked up sharply. "Over 1,800 tickets in 6 months? "Yes, sir, and we've identified a disturbing pattern. He appears to target the same vehicles repeatedly, particularly vehicles driven by or associated with people in vulnerable populations." Define vulnerable. "We've identified 23 vehicles that received 5 or more tickets from Officer Pollson in 6 months. Of those, 12 belong to elderly residents, 8 to people with documented disabilities or their family members, and 3 to low-income families. Emma Sullivan's mother's vehicle is one of them." Frank's voice was ice-cold. "He's targeting children, the disabled, and the elderly." "It appears so, Your Honor." "And there's another serious issue. 78 of his tickets were written outside Providence city limits, which raises jurisdiction questions and suggests he's following certain vehicles beyond his assigned patrol area." Bella's secret would explain everything. During the investigation break, Frank asked Emma about Bella's training and recent behavior. "Emma, I noticed something earlier. When you and Bella walked through the courtroom, she kept turning her head and scanning the room more than typical service dogs do. And just now, when you were upset, she immediately pressed against you. Is there something special about Bella's training?" Emma's face showed relief mixed with anxiety. "Your Honor, this is what I've been trying to tell people, but adults don't really listen to teenagers. Bella has been acting really strange for the past 2 weeks, and I think she's been trying to warn me about something." "What kind of strange behavior?" "Bella is trained by Guide Dogs for America. She went through 2 years of intensive service dog training specifically for guiding visually impaired people. But before she came to me, she was actually being trained as a dual-purpose dog." "Dual purpose?" "Yes, Your Honor. Bella was originally in a program training dogs for both guide work and detection work, finding electronics, tracking devices, things like that. But she was too sensitive and gentle for police detection work, so they retrained her purely as a guide dog for me." Frank leaned forward intently. "But she retained some detection training?" "I think so, Your Honor. For the past 10 days, Bella has been acting weird around my mom's car. She keeps pulling me toward it and sniffing around the wheels and bumpers, especially the back bumper. At first, I thought maybe there was food smell or an animal scent, but she kept doing it obsessively." "What did you do?" Emma pulled out her phone and navigated to a video file, the screen reader announcing each action. "My older brother Mike is studying automotive technology at CCRI. I asked him to check the car last weekend because Bella wouldn't stop alerting to it. Your Honor, can I show you what he found?" Frank nodded, and Emma played the video, with her phone's screen reader describing the visual content for her. "This is my brother Mike inspecting Mom's car," Emma explained as the video played. "Watch the back bumper area." The video showed a young man in his 20s using a flashlight to examine the underside of a Toyota Camry's rear bumper. His hand reached up and pulled something away, a small black magnetic device about the size of a deck of cards. "That's a GPS tracker, Your Honor," Emma said quietly. Someone planted a tracking device on my mom's car, and Bella's detection training helped her find it. The courtroom erupted in shocked murmurs. Officer Pollson was called to testify. When Officer Derek Pollson entered the courtroom, Frank's expression was severe. Pollson was a stocky man in his late 40s with thinning hair and an arrogant demeanor that immediately shifted to discomfort when he saw Emma and Bella. "Officer Pollson, take the stand." Pollson sat down stiffly, avoiding eye contact with Emma. "Officer Pollson, did you issue 7 parking citations to a 2020 Toyota Camry, license plate Rhode Island 892 KPL, registered to Jennifer Sullivan between October 16th and October 19th of this year?" "If that's what the records show, then yes." "Did you notice that you issued 7 tickets to the same vehicle in 1 week?" "I ticket violations as I see them, Your Honor. I don't memorize every plate." Frank picked up the file Captain Walsh had provided. "Officer Pollson, you've written 1,147 parking citations in the past 6 months. That's more than 3 times the department average. Why?" Pollson shrugged defensively. "I'm thorough. I take my job seriously. Some officers let things slide. I don't." "You wrote 78 tickets outside Providence city limits, including 2 of the tickets you issued to this family. How do you explain writing tickets in Cranston and Warwick when you're a Providence officer?" "Multi-jurisdictional cooperation agreements allow officers to write tickets when assisting another jurisdiction or in immediate pursuit of a violation," Frank interrupted sharply. "They don't allow you to follow a 17-year-old blind girl and her mother across city lines to target them with questionable citations." "Were you following the Sullivan family?" Pollson hesitated, his confidence cracking. I noticed a pattern of violations and maintained observation." "For 1 week? Across 3 cities? Including watching them at a Target parking lot in Warwick at 7 p.m. on a Thursday?" "I was ensuring compliance with—" Frank held up a photograph. "Officer Pollson, are you familiar with magnetic GPS tracking devices?" Pollson's face went pale. "I don't know what you're talking about." A GPS tracker was found on Jennifer Sullivan's vehicle. It was discovered when Emma's service dog, Bella, who has detection training, kept alerting to the vehicle's rear bumper. Bella was trained to detect electronics and tracking devices before she became a guide dog. The courtroom was completely silent. "The tracker's serial number has been traced," Frank continued, his voice cold with fury. "It was purchased 3 weeks ago from a surveillance equipment supplier. The credit card used for the purchase belongs to you, Officer Pollson. You planted a tracking device on a car regularly driven by a blind teenage girl so you could follow her and write fake tickets." Pollson stood up abruptly. "I want a lawyer." "I'm not saying anything else." "Sit down, officer," Frank commanded. "We're not finished." The systematic quota abuse was exposed. Captain Walsh took the stand to provide additional context, frequently glancing at Emma with an expression of sympathy and anger. "Your Honor, our investigation into Officer Pollson's practices revealed something disturbing. Providence doesn't have official quotas for parking tickets, but Officer Pollson created his own personal quota system." "Explain." "We found a notebook in his patrol vehicle where he'd been tracking his monthly ticket revenue generation. He had written that he needed to generate $50,000 in parking fines per month to be considered for a promotion to a traffic enforcement supervisor position." Frank's expression was furious. "He was inventing violations to hit revenue targets?" "Yes, Your Honor. Of the 1,847 tickets he wrote in 6 months, we've now reviewed 468. Of those, 183 contain errors inaccuracies, or were written for violations that don't exist. Wrong addresses, incorrect violation codes, tickets in legal parking spaces, or tickets issued outside his jurisdiction. And the targeting of Emma Sullivan and her mother? Captain Walsh's voice was tight with anger. His notebook contained specific notes about easy targets. He wrote, and I quote, "Families with disabled kids don't fight tickets. Too busy with doctor appointments and therapy to waste time in court." Emma's hand flew to her mouth, and tears started streaming down her face. Bella immediately stood and pressed her head against Emma's lap, performing her trained emotional support response. "He targeted my family because I'm blind?" Emma's voice cracked. "He thought my mom wouldn't fight because she's too busy taking care of me?" Frank's voice was gentle when he addressed Emma. "He was wrong, Emma. You're here. You fought. And because of your courage, we're going to stop him from doing this to anyone else." Frank's ruling would end a predatory career and protect children. After hearing all testimony and reviewing all evidence, Frank delivered his verdict with barely controlled fury. "Officer Derek Pollson, stand up." Pollson stood reluctantly, his earlier arrogance completely gone. "I am dismissing all 7 tickets issued to the Sullivan family vehicle. Furthermore, I am ordering the Providence Police Department to immediately review every single ticket you've written in the past year and dismiss any that contain errors or were issued outside your jurisdiction." Frank's voice grew harder. "I am also filing formal complaints with the Rhode Island Police Standards and Training Council and the Rhode Island Attorney General's office regarding your conduct. Placing a GPS tracker on a vehicle used to transport a minor, a disabled minor, without a warrant or legitimate law enforcement purpose is stalking, harassment, and constitutes child endangerment." The courtroom was absolutely silent except for Emma's quiet crying and Bella's soft whining as she comforted her young handler. "You targeted a 17-year-old blind girl and her working mother because you calculated they would be too overwhelmed to fight back. You followed this child across city lines, you tracked her movements, you terrified her, and you did it to pad your ticket numbers and chase a promotion." Frank's voice was shaking with anger. "Emma Sullivan showed more courage walking into this courtroom alone than you've shown in your entire career. She's a child who can't see, and she stood up to you. Your career in law enforcement is over, and I will personally ensure you face criminal charges." Frank turned to Emma, his expression softening. "Emma, I apologize on behalf of this court, this city, and every adult who failed to protect you from this harassment. Your service dog Bella's detection training may have saved you and possibly other families from months more of this abuse. She's an extraordinary animal, and you're an extraordinary young woman." At the mention of her name, Bella's tail wagged softly, and she licked Emma's hand as the teenager sobbed with relief. The systemic review revealed hundreds of child and family victims. Frank ordered a comprehensive review of all parking tickets issued by Providence Parking Enforcement over the past year, with specific focus on tickets issued to families with school-aged children or people with disabilities. The results were devastating. Of the 1,847 tickets Officer Pollson had written, 743 were found to be erroneous, fraudulent, or improperly issued. All were dismissed. But the investigation revealed something even more disturbing. Pollson had specifically targeted 34 families with disabled children, writing multiple tickets to their vehicles over extended periods. One family had received 12 tickets in 3 months while driving their autistic son to therapy appointments. Another family got 9 tickets while taking their daughter with cerebral palsy to physical therapy. A family with a deaf child received 8 tickets over 2 months while driving to and from the Rhode Island School for the Deaf. In total, 1,329 parking tickets were dismissed, resulting in $387,000 in fines being refunded to Providence families, many of whom were already struggling financially to care for disabled children. "This is predatory targeting of the most vulnerable families in our city," Frank announced at a press conference, with Emma and her mother Jennifer standing beside him. Officer Pollson calculated that families caring for disabled children would be too exhausted, too overwhelmed, and too afraid to fight back. He was wrong. Emma became the youngest advocate for family protection laws. Despite being just 17 years old, Emma used her experience to help launch a nonprofit called Families First Watch, dedicated to monitoring parking enforcement practices and helping families with disabled children contest unjust tickets. "When Officer Pollson targeted my family, he thought I couldn't fight back because I'm blind and just a teenager," Emma explains in presentations to city councils and school boards, with Bella sitting calmly at her side. "But being young and disabled doesn't mean being powerless. And if speaking up about what happened to me helps even one other family, then everything we went through was worth it." Her organization, co-founded with her mother Jennifer, has helped contest over 2,000 parking tickets across Rhode Island, targeting families with disabled children, with an 86% success rate. Emma also started a youth advocacy program teaching teenagers with disabilities about their legal rights and how to document and report harassment. "Bella saved us by finding that GPS tracker," Emma tells students at disability rights workshops. "But we saved ourselves by refusing to be silent. Adults need to listen when young people say something's wrong." Bella's unique dual training became a model for next-generation service dogs. Bella's combination of guide dog work and retained detection abilities attracted national attention from service dog training organizations. Guide Dogs for America, the organization that trained Bella, launched a revolutionary program for dual-capability service dogs, animals that provide guide or mobility assistance while also retaining detection capabilities for electronics, allergens, or medical alerts. Bella's case proved that dogs who don't quite fit traditional police work can still use specialized training beneficially in service dog roles, explains Marcus Rodriguez, Director of Training at Guide Dogs for America. "Bella was too gentle and emotionally sensitive for police detection work, but those same qualities make her perfect for guiding Emma, while her detection abilities provide an extra layer of protection." The program is now specifically recruiting and training dogs like Bella for placement with children and teenagers with disabilities, reasoning that young people face unique safety vulnerabilities that dual-trained dogs can help address. Bella now has her own Instagram account, @BellaTheHeroGuide, with over 425,000 followers, where Emma posts about service dog etiquette, disability rights, teenage advocacy, and Bella's daily adventures guiding Emma through high school. One particularly viral post shows Bella sitting next to the GPS tracker that was removed from the Sullivan family car, with Emma's caption, "They tried to track me because I'm blind. Bella tracked them instead." Never underestimate a service dog or the teenager she protects. Officer Pollson faced criminal charges and a landmark conviction. The GPS tracking incident led to serious criminal charges against Officer Pollson, the first time in Rhode Island history that a police officer was charged with child endangerment for targeting a minor with fraudulent tickets and illegal surveillance. He was charged with stalking a minor, harassment, child endangerment, official misconduct, unlawful surveillance, and filing false police reports. At trial, the prosecutor argued, Officer Pollson didn't just target a family. He specifically targeted a blind teenage girl because he calculated she would be the easiest victim. Too young to fight, too disabled to navigate the system, too overwhelmed to resist. He was predator in a police uniform. Pollson pleaded guilty to reduced charges and received 18 months in prison, 3 years probation after release, 500 hours of community service at organizations serving disabled children, and a permanent ban from law enforcement work anywhere in the United States. "You didn't just violate the law," the judge told him during sentencing. "You violated the sacred trust that comes with a badge by preying on a child. The fact that Emma Sullivan is blind made your targeting of her even more despicable. You deserve every day of the sentence you're receiving." Jennifer Sullivan, Emma's mother, testified at his sentencing hearing, with Emma and Bella sitting in the front row. "I couldn't sleep for weeks after we found that tracker," Jennifer said, her voice shaking with emotion. "Knowing that a police officer had been following my daughter, my blind 17-year-old daughter, watching her, tracking her movements, targeting her because he thought she was helpless. It was every parent's nightmare." Jennifer looked directly at Pollson. "Emma has been through enough in her life. She lost her vision at 12. She's had to learn to navigate a world that wasn't built for her. And you made her afraid in the one place she should have felt safe, riding to school with her mom. You should be ashamed." Emma also gave a victim impact statement, standing at the podium with Bella at her side. "I'm 17 years old. I'm blind. And a police officer with a gun and a badge decided I was an easy target," Emma said, her voice steady despite her nervousness. "For 1 week, I was afraid every time my mom drove me anywhere. I was afraid to go to school. I was afraid to go to work at the library. I was terrified that he was watching me, following me, tracking me." Emma's voice grew stronger. "But I want other kids with disabilities to know something. Being disabled doesn't make you weak. Being young doesn't make you powerless. And if someone tries to target you, fight back. Get help. Speak up. Because you matter, and you deserve to be protected." The courtroom erupted in applause, and even the judge had tears in his eyes. The policy changes protected children and families statewide. Frank's ruling led to revolutionary reforms in Rhode Island, parking and traffic enforcement, specifically focused on protecting families with children and people with disabilities. A new law, officially titled the Emma Sullivan Child Protection and Enforcement Act, but universally known as Emma's Law, was passed by the Rhode Island legislature with unanimous bipartisan support, requiring prohibition on writing multiple tickets to the same vehicle within a 72-hour period without supervisor approval and documented cause. Mandatory body cameras for all parking enforcement officers, quarterly audits of citation patterns to identify targeting of families with disabled children, criminal penalties for officers who place tracking devices on civilian vehicles, with enhanced penalties when minors are involved, a streamlined appeals process for families with disabled children contesting parking tickets, including virtual hearings, prohibition on writing tickets outside an officer's designated jurisdiction without documented multi-jurisdictional cooperation, creation of a civilian oversight board for parking enforcement with mandatory inclusion of disability rights advocates. Rhode Island also implemented first-in-the-nation protections specifically for student drivers and families with school-aged children. School pickup and drop-off zones are now protected from parking enforcement during school hours. Loading zones at medical facilities cannot be ticketed if the vehicle is actively loading/unloading a patient. Families with documented disabled children receive automatic parking ticket review by a special ombudsman. Within 1 year of these reforms, complaints about parking enforcement dropped by 71%. Tickets written to families with disabled children dropped by 89%. The number of tickets successfully contested fell to normal levels, suggesting fewer erroneous tickets were being issued. 0 cases of tracking devices or stalking by parking enforcement officers were reported. Emma served on the Civilian Oversight Board as its youngest member and the first teenager to serve on any Rhode Island Government Oversight Committee. Judge Frank Caprio kept the GPS tracker in his chambers as a reminder. Frank kept the magnetic GPS tracker that was removed from the Sullivan family car, displayed in a locked case in his chambers, along with one of Emma's dismissed tickets and a photograph of Emma and Bella taken in the courtroom. The plaque beneath the display reads, "Evidence that predators can wear badges, that abuse of power can hide in the smallest devices, but that courage can come from the youngest hearts, and justice can come from a teenage girl and her hero dog." Frank became a national advocate for protecting families and children from predatory enforcement practices, speaking at judicial conferences across the country about quota-based policing and the targeting of vulnerable populations. Emma Sullivan was 17 years old, blind and terrified, Frank tells audiences. But she walked into my courtroom alone and stood up to a corrupt officer who had been stalking her. If we adults had been paying attention, if we had listened when her mother tried to contest those tickets, if we had noticed the pattern sooner, maybe Emma wouldn't have had to be that brave. We need to protect our children, especially disabled children, not make them fight battles against the very people who should be protecting them. Frank also worked with Rhode Island schools to implement disability rights and legal literacy programs, ensuring that students like Emma know their rights and how to advocate for themselves. Emma's final message: being young and disabled doesn't mean being powerless. Today, Emma is 18 years old, graduated from Providence Career and Technical Academy with honors, and is attending Rhode Island College studying social work and disability advocacy, with plans to become a lawyer specializing in disability rights. She and Bella are inseparable partners. Bella guides Emma across the college campus and recently received the National Service Dog Excellence Award for her role in exposing Officer Pollson's tracking operation and her pioneering dual training that combines guide work with detection abilities. The 7 tickets felt like the end of the world when they kept coming, Emma tells students when she speaks at high schools and youth disability conferences. My mom was terrified we couldn't afford to fight them. I was scared to leave the house. But if I hadn't paid attention to Bella's behavior, if I hadn't trusted that something was wrong, that tracker might still be on my mom's car. Officer Pollson might still be targeting families like mine. Emma's message resonates especially with young people with disabilities. Society tells us that being young means adults don't have to listen to us. Society tells us that being disabled means we're helpless. Both of those things are lies. I was 17 and blind, and I stood up to a corrupt cop. If I can do that, you can stand up for yourself too. Your voice matters. Your rights matter. You matter. Jennifer Sullivan, Emma's mother, now works full-time as Director of Operations for Families First Watch, the nonprofit she co-founded with Emma. My daughter is my hero, Jennifer says simply. I was so afraid those tickets would break us financially. I was terrified every time I drove her anywhere. But Emma refused to be a victim. She fought back, and she changed the law for thousands of families. I've never been more proud. Mike Sullivan, Emma's older brother who discovered the GPS tracker, now volunteers with the nonprofit teaching families how to inspect their vehicles for tracking devices and document parking enforcement harassment. When Emma asked me to check Mom's car because Bella kept acting weird, I thought she was being paranoid, Mike admits. When I found that tracker, I was so angry I could barely see straight. No one should ever target my little sister like that. But Em didn't just get justice for herself. She changed the system so other kids won't go through what she did. The 7 tickets that once represented harassment now hang in the offices of Family's First Watch, framed together with Bella's service dog ID badge and the GPS tracker. The caption beneath them reads, "They thought a blind teenager couldn't fight. They didn't count on Emma or Bella." Frank's courtroom proved once again that justice means protecting the most vulnerable, questioning authority when it abuses power, and recognizing that sometimes the bravest warriors for change are 17 years old, can't see, and have a 4-legged partner who refuses to let them face the battle alone. And sometimes justice comes from a teenage girl who was underestimated, a mother who refused to give up, and a service dog who literally sniffed out corruption, one magnetic tracker at a time. If Emma's story inspired you, hit that subscribe button and join the All Rise family. Have you or your family ever been targeted by unfair parking enforcement? Drop your story in the comments below. And if you think Bella deserves the title of Hero Dog of the Year, let us know by smashing that like button. Remember, justice isn't just about the big cases. Sometimes it starts with one brave teenager refusing to accept injustice, even when that injustice comes in the form of 7 parking tickets targeting a blind high school student. Share this video with every parent, every teacher, and every young person who needs to know that being young or disabled doesn't mean being powerless. Emma proved that courage has no age limit, and sometimes it has 4 legs and a purple service vest. Thanks for watching All Rise, and we'll see you in the next case where everyday people stand up for what's right. Don't forget to turn on notifications so you never miss a story of justice being served.